It's still leaking everywhere. It's all over the ground. All right, what's going on, guys? It's Chad. Back here over on some more Call of Duty for just a little bit. So yesterday, I ended up doing my video. So yesterday, I ended up posting my video on the Summer Games Fest, which was generally kind of a disappointment overall. Production-wise, it was great, you know? Just the announcements were kind of, you know, lacking or whatever. So since I was doing that, I didn't get to go and talk about a lot of the leaks that were happening here. Yesterday, so much information ended up coming out. I guess just because it's getting closer and closer to the actual reveal, we're just getting more and more information. So one of the big things that were mentioned yesterday was the omnidirectional movement, and Charlie Intel started confirming the idea of what the omnidirectional movement means, and someone actually likened it to Max Payne. If you ever played Max Payne, I'm aware that a good amount of people probably haven't played Max Payne, but there were other games besides Max Payne as well that did it as well from that time period. But a lot of people are also thinking about Helldivers 2, where you're able to dive forward, backwards, sideways, stuff like that. You can apparently do that in this game. So whenever I was talking about these initial rumors, omnidirectional to me though, boots on the ground omnidirectional without a jetpack, to me, that's what that meant to me. You would be able to sprint in directions that you wouldn't usually be able to. You'd be able to dive in directions while looking a different direction. And I assume you still can't ADS while sprinting unless there's like some sort of a gung-ho perk or something like that. I don't even know anything about perks, but the overall idea is that like I would be able to technically sprint backwards while aiming forward, if that makes sense. Like in real life, if I had to back up quickly, I wouldn't just turn all the way around, my back away from where all the danger is, and then run that way. That's the fastest way to go forward and backwards for sure, going forward. You can't sprint backwards as quickly as you can forward, right? That's just, we're not built that way. But we are capable of moving backwards and sideways more quickly than, you know, these games have you control yourself. So the idea is that you'll be able to actually do that in this game. Now, how will it feel? I have no idea. What will it do with a skill gap? I have no idea. I don't know if it's gonna make things easier. I don't know if it's gonna make things harder. I will say that it definitely will make this Call of Duty feel different from the others. A lot of people have the idea that like, well, this is a Treyarch game. Treyarch has always felt like Treyarch, right? All of the studios always had their kind of distinct feel, but because we have this whole thing where they're talking about everyone's on the same engine, everyone is assuming that they're all going to feel very, very similar to each other. But just with this overall movement change overall, even if it does feel similar in terms of the engine, this is going to be very weird to be able to be in this standing position and then be able to actually sprint left, sprint right, sprint backwards and diagonally and all this stuff omnidirectionally, you know? Your top and bottom halves are two separate pieces, just like real life. I can twist and turn my top half of my body in any direction with the same way that I can with the bottom half of my body. We'll see how extreme it gets, but I basically made a comment on it saying that like, if we got all this omnidirectional shit going on, I can't wait to see all these clips of people like getting all this movement shit down, trying to break cameras. People are gonna be diving around all over the screen and you're just gonna see people's legs just flying all over the place. If I tack sprint forward right here and then I decide to dive, I'm gonna assume that I'll be able to turn my upper half and my legs will still be this direction, just like Max Payne. You get the idea. They ended up posting something yesterday in anticipation for the actual reveal, and it says, get ready for a signature Black Ops Redacted. I'm gonna assume that means signature Black Ops experience, complete with a cinematic Redacted, I'm gonna assume campaign, best-in-class Redacted, which I believe is multiplayer, and with the epic return of Redacted. That could be a lot of things. So get ready for a signature Black Ops experience with a complete cinematic campaign, best-in-class multiplayer, and the epic return of, that could either be round-based zombies, that could be Verdansk, it could be a character. I mean, it could be anything, really. And speaking of zombies and those other things, there's other leaks as well about that. We got a leak that we're going to have 2 round-based zombies maps. Just the fact that we even have 1 round-based zombies map is great, but we're apparently gonna have 2 on release. I don't know how many are gonna come, you know, throughout the year or so, but yeah, we're supposed to be getting round-based zombies and stuff like that, and there's supposed to be 2 maps, so that'll be cool. It'll also be really nice. I know that this is gonna be annoying to some people, but for the camo grind, I'm hoping that one of those maps is more of a speedy map than the others. I'm definitely gonna pick whatever zombies map actually allows me to farm the fastest. Gotta be efficient, you know? But some of them are a little bit more rumor than anything, but could be true. Black Ops 6 will apparently have a prestige system. Now, I don't know if it's completely classic prestige or whatever, but I think that they're very aware that over the years when they started doing this weird like seasonal reset thing or like capping people or whatever, their original idea for why they ended up making these changes was because they felt like people were, quote, beating the game whenever they were hitting max prestige, whether that's 1,000 levels or not. They wanted people to not, quote, beat the game. But by introducing these little level caps and stuff, you made it so people would just beat the game every season. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot with it. I think that the classic prestige system is just better. I don't think that that would make people quit the game or make them feel like they actually beat the game. I just don't see it. Especially if it's like 1,000 levels where you have to invest a ton of time. Sure, maybe they will feel like they beat the game after 1,000 levels. Or they could be like Pomage and, you know, get 1,000 levels every season of Black Ops Cold War. But very rarely do people even do that. But again, still, it just felt like you were basically at the mercy of some sort of time restraint. It just didn't feel good overall knowing that, like, you're just gonna be capped just artificially, not because you're playing more or less. You just end up getting capped by a seasonal thing. I just feel like they created the same problem for themselves, just even more quickly. Also, another rumor that I can't substantiate, Black Ops 6 apparently will have theater mode. Now, theater mode is such a crazy big deal overall, and I'm definitely gonna be using it a lot more for my videos in general, especially for like any random thing that could possibly be cross-map knives or something weird just happens and I can go back and look at exactly what happened in that scenario. I hope as well with this whole theater mode thing, I really wish that they would be able to combo that with, say, like a community tab, because it does make the game feel a little bit more community driven. Like if you went back on the Black Ops 1, for example, I have a video where I'm reacting to like hilarious Black Ops 1 screenshots and just the, in general, like community tab, and pictures and clips and things like that that were taken by community members would be able to get voted up, voted down, count their views and stuff, and then you can sort them. So you can have really popular clips and stuff end up at the top of these things whenever you go and open up that community tab underneath of the theater mode. I think it just gave this like real good feeling of community. Halo has a very similar thing. I don't know if Infinite has that anymore. I have no idea, but it's just a really good feeling. Now, I assume that the theater mode itself is probably just not made a lot of the time, mostly because it is a lot of work. There's a lot of back-end stuff that goes into that, recording all of your games and things like that, and weird things happen if you played older Call of Duties as well. You know, like some weird stuff happened, like if theater mode, for example, was turned on back in the day, you would actually have worse connection. You would have some sort of like weird input thing. That was a rumor. I don't even know if that was proven or not, but there was that weird thing. So I would have theater mode off a lot, say, for example, in Modern Warfare 3. But also, one of the main things that I have to mention is that they have to be very careful of this whole theater thing, which I think is really the main issue why they don't do the theater mode more often, because they have to deal with stupid shit like this. But theater mode, if you know, paid attention to whenever people were going back to their Xbox 360s and playing MW2, MW3 and stuff like that, people were getting their mods and cheats and stuff like that injected into their profile, their COD profiles, through the theater mode itself. People would get access to those cheats and shit, the infection cheats, through the theater mode. It would work, basically, you would just go and open up one of the files that were infected, go and watch it, and then once the file is finished playing, and you back out of the whole thing, you now have the infection. You now have cheats for the remainder of the games until you turn your console off. Well, obviously, I don't think that exists at the moment, especially in that form, but if you give them time, they definitely could. They have to be very careful with that. That's how a lot of cheats and mods got around before. So hopefully they're very aware of that. I feel like they are, you know, since they paid attention to the whole Microsoft thing when that was going on, but we'll see how the theater mode thing goes. But I think theater mode is very good for the games overall. The issue is that, you know, after a year or whatever, are we even gonna get it again? It's a lot of work for something that a lot of people probably won't use. So if you guys want theater mode to be used a lot, you guys have to use it a lot. You have to show its uses. You have to utilize it, clip things, show things, post them on Twitter and shit. I think having a theater mode makes it more likely that clips and things like that could go viral. You can get perspective that you didn't have before. I think with the theater mode, with like a dolly camera and stuff like that, little features, it has a ton of potential for content creation and just posting clips and shit in general. Also, another rumor, Black Ops 6 is rumored to not have carryover thing anymore. So like over the last few Call of Duties, we've had that carryover thing, especially from MW2 to MW3. Within the multiplayer, now it will still carry over to Warzone, but apparently all this stuff that we have on MW3 through multiplayer anyway will not be in Black Ops 6 multiplayer. So all these Gundams and other blueprints and shit like that will not be in Black Ops 6. They will, however, still be in Warzone. So if anything that you buy now, if you're like a Warzone player, you can still buy bundles and shit. But now, if you're a multiplayer only person that doesn't play Warzone or anything like that, I suggest chilling on the purchases because it's not going to carry over for multiplayer anyway in Black Ops 6. Again, that is still a rumor, you know, buy whatever you want, but now the idea is that I'm going to assume that Activision felt like, or whoever, it was a common sentiment where people were saying that basically MW3 was just an expansion to MW2 and that it was a DLC, and there was a whole bunch of things that basically perpetuated this idea that it was just strictly DLC or whatever, even though it technically was its own game or whatever, but it was under the COD HQ and it was labeled as DLC and people didn't really understand what that meant and all this other shit. They don't know what COD HQ is. The carryover really made it feel like that it was definitely like a DLC expansion kind of thing. Even if it isn't, it still made it look and feel that way. You know, seeing the same skins and same guns and blueprints and all that stuff over and over and over again perpetuated this idea that it was just a DLC. So I'm gonna assume they don't want that. And they likely were able to sell probably even more if they don't have this carryover thing. Maybe. Especially at the beginning of the year anyway. I would assume going towards the end of the year where people stop buying, you know, all of the new skins and stuff that come out, just like I'm mentioning right now, because it won't carry over to the next one. I'm gonna assume they probably saw more profits and stuff like that very early when they didn't have carryover versus when they did. Because if they did have carryover, people right at the start of the game had skins and stuff that they really liked, so they were less likely to go and buy new ones. Although for me, that didn't necessarily matter because I think a lot of the things in the store are actually really fucking cool in here, but Black Ops 6 will not have carryover. That's the rumor. Also, there's a UFC event. I'm assuming it's actually happening. It started already right now. I'm a little late. But the main event is Cannonier versus Imavov. I actually haven't watched a lot of the recent fights on a lot of the people on there. I usually do. I go back and I watch every fighter's like last 2 fights, even if it's in like, you know, 2x speed and stuff like that, just to see how they're handling things, what their speed is, what are they looking like. Obviously, I do all that stuff to sometimes no avail and still pick wrong anyway. It doesn't, you know, it's fighting. Shit just happens. People have entire talk shows around making predictions and about this team is bad, this team is good, all these talk shows and shit, and then they go on to be completely wrong. It's not that they don't know anything, it's that spirit of sport is just kind of unpredictable. It just is. But I'll pick the top 3 since I have a better understanding of those. On top of that, a lot of people don't even necessarily know a lot of the other people on the card. So Raul Rosas Jr. comes back against Ricky Tercios. Hope I pronounced his last name right, I'm not sure. Tercios? I got Raul in that fight though. I think after he got humbled a little bit and, you know, learned a little bit more, he's definitely going to be taking things a little bit more seriously, a little bit more careful, calculated, shit like that. God, Call of Duty is so unbearable right now. Holy fuck. X-Defiant is ruining my Call of Duty feel. People say X-Defiant feels really clunky, but it feels more responsive than Call of Duty does. Maybe it's just because of the weight of Call of Duty or whatever, but X-Defiant feels more responsive than Call of Duty does to me. Dominic Reyes against Dustin Jacoby. I really want Dominic Reyes to win. I think Dominic can win this. If Dominic Reyes gets knocked out by Dustin Jacoby, it's over, man. It really is over. Dominic Reyes hasn't won a fight in 4 years, given he's only fought 4 times. Since that point, he only fights once a year. Dustin Jacoby is not a knockout artist. I would really love if Dominic Reyes won this fight. I'm gonna pick Dominic Reyes. I think Dom specifically struggles against a lot of people that could just knock him out. Not necessarily people that kind of win through controlling people and winning decisions and shit. I think this matchup actually favors Dominic Reyes. So I'm gonna pick Dominic Reyes, but you never know, man. His chin is shot. We already know that his chin is bad, but if he gets KO'd by somebody that's not even a knockout artist, it's over, man. It is so over. I'm depressed. And then Jared Cannonier against Nasruddin Imavov. Imavov, I don't know. He's just, I don't think he really poses that much of a threat to Cannonier. Cannonier is a tough guy. He's fought much tougher opponents. He's lost to much better opponents than Imavov has, just generally speaking. Now, Jared Cannonier is 40 years old, but Jared Cannonier also is made of some sort of fucking material that I don't even know. That dude has been jacked his entire life, been up and down weight classes and shit. His discipline is insane. His mental is insane. And as a fighter, I think he's just way better than Imavov. But yeah, those are my picks. I got Cannonier over Imavov. I got Dominic Reyes over Dustin Jacoby, and I got Raul Rosas Jr. over Ricky. And tomorrow I'll have a video up reacting to the whole Black Ops 6 reveal and stuff.